Welcome to the Balanced Leader podcast, where we tackle the ultimate challenge for leaders, achieving peak performance without sacrificing your well-being. If you're ready to lead with clarity, energy, and impact without burning out, then you're in the right place. I'm Rob Hills, your leadership and wellbeing coach, and in each episode, I'll give you the insights, tools, and strategies that will enable you to thrive. Today, I'm joined by Chelsea Pottenger, high-performance coach, keynote speaker, and one of Australia's leading voices on resilience and mental well-being. Chelsea has worked with some of the world's biggest organisations to help leaders and teams build mental fitness and prevent burnout. In this episode, we'll dive into the practical tools and strategies that will help you lead with courage, clarity, and compassion, especially when the pressure is on. Today's episode felt more like a chat with an old friend. I'm so grateful for Chelsea's vulnerability and willingness to share. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode with Chelsea Pottenger. Welcome, Chelsea, to the Balanced Leader podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's fantastic to be here, Rob. Thank you so much for inviting me as your guest today.
Well, it's so great to have you. I have been following you online for, I think it's about a year now, and I have so many questions for you. So I'm really excited to ask those questions. But before we jump in, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, of course. So my life honestly looked very different to what it does these days, Rob. You know, I've always been actually fascinated with the intersection of high performance and human well-being. However, my journey before sort of pre-mental illness, pre-psychology degree, pre-EQ minds, I was living a very fast-paced environment. I was in the corporate world myself. 11, 12-hour days wasn't uncommon. You know, we would be very fast-paced, achievement mode, tick boxes. End of the evening, I used to take my clients out for some drinks. So Hendrick's gin was kind of my vice back then. And I still have a glass of wine on a Friday night, to be honest. I'm still not an absolute saint, but I definitely don't drink Monday to Friday anymore. Yeah. And in the morning, it was always like everything was pretty hardcore, to be honest. I'd get up very early. I'd hit the pavement, pounding the pavement, you know, doing triathlon training. I did yoga maybe once a week, but I'd never stay for Shavasana. You know, I was just too busy to lay there. Yeah. And it was that real, you know, back in my corporate career, this is 15 years ago now, it was a very rise and grind mentality, you know, no rest days, rise and grind. And that pace, to be honest, was pretty unsustainable. And then 2015, we were very blessed because we finally found out we're having a baby. And Robert honestly took me 7 years to fall pregnant with our daughter, Clara. And so when you've been trying for 7 years and you finally find out you're having a baby, you know, you're really happy because you're like, wow, finally, right? Yeah. And then, you know, the most ironic thing happened. And the reason why I always use that word of irony is because if you asked any of my friends or family members or what's Chelsea like as a person, they would always say happy, optimistic. And that is honestly my natural disposition. I'm a happy, positive, optimistic person. That's naturally how I sit. However, I mean, 9 weeks post-birth after giving birth to Clara, I ended up in a psychiatric hospital. Now, that was a journey that like kicked off about day 3 when I was in hospital in terms of when the milk came in after birth. But it wasn't until 9 weeks that it was a critical moment where I was so severely unwell and sick that I got admitted straight into a psychiatric hospital in Sydney, really fighting for my life. I was very, very unwell and I was suffering something severely called postnatal depression. And the safest place I could honestly be was laying in a hospital bed. And it's really interesting when you end up in a psychiatric hospital because, you know, type A, high functioning, used to, you know, ticking things off the list. And then all of a sudden you crumble. And then, you know, you look around that hospital unit. And I was very blessed, you know, at this hospital, St. John of God, Mums and Bubs Psychiatric Hospital, it's called, for anyone that's listening. There was other 12 mums in there and they were all in the same position as me. And, you know, there was lawyers in there and there's property developers and there's a surgeon in there. So very high functioning women, actually. And we'd all just completely crumbled together. And so that was quite insightful for me, just even that alone, and it took me 5 weeks to start to heal. I was there for a 5-week stay. Our gorgeous little girl, Clara, was 9 weeks old when we first got admitted, so she was with me the whole time. My husband would come every single day with my good friends and family and drop off pillows and, smoothies and everything.
Yeah.
They were amazing. So an amazing support. And it was actually, that was the catalyst that really made me change my entire life, because at the end of the 5-week stay, my amazing psychiatrist, like, she's just such an amazing human. I still write her a card every year to say thanks for saving my life. I sit into photos and, like, things that I'm up to these days. And, she said to me at the end of the 5-week stay when I was leaving, she's like, Chelsea, you are such a nice person. Like, you've been making smoothies for all the mums in here, like, every morning. And she's like, you've got a really weird fascination with your brain. I think it's from working with Johnson & Johnson, and you're so interested in the science and what's going on with your mind. And she's like, and you've walked with the shoes of a very unwell patient. Like, you've seen what it looks like through a suicidal lens. You would make such a nice psychologist. Like, would you ever consider, like, changing your career? And I thought, okay. So it was like this beautiful thing was born, right? Like, I just had this fire in my belly and my heart going, I'll do anything in my power to make sure no one ever ends up where I have just been, right, in this hospital for their mental illness. And so that was the beginning of a 9.5 journey to where I am these days. But that was really the catalyst for me to leave the city. I moved to a small country town. I went back to university to study psychology. I am still at university studying psychology. It's a really long journey.
Yeah.
And I heard that you had Dr. Jodie Lowinger on your podcast, who's a beautiful human and does great work. And it takes a long time, right, to become a clinical psychologist. But I'm still there. I'm still on this journey. And to be honest, I'm so proud, because to date, we've trained about 2 million people across the world around mental health, around mindfulness, around resilience, and, around living a more whole life. And it's, with some of the biggest brands in the world that we work with. But it's what makes me so happy, Rob, is like the day that I get a message from the mum out in regional Australia going, hey, Chelsea, I just read your book and you've got me through a really dark time, and I just think, wow, like, I've actually helped one person in Australia. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. What a story. First of all, thank you for sharing. I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing that. What was it like, the feeling to go from where you were functioning, like you said, type A, pounding the pavement every day, to this point where it must have been difficult to function. How did you reconcile that? How did you cope with that?
It was a completely different identity shift, right? You've gone from a high-performing corporate executive to someone who feels like they're a burden not getting it as a mother. So that was a huge, huge shift for me. And the fact that I got postnatal depression, like I really wanted this baby, right? I've tried for 7 years to get her. Yeah. Why have I now got anxiety and depression? Like, this is something that this isn't fair. And so definitely in those first few weeks, I was in complete victim mindset. I was so depressed. And with the help of, St. John of God and my psychiatrist and being medicated, to help with the chemical imbalance, and then seeing an amazing psychologist myself and having therapy. And one of the best things that my psychiatrist did was actually prescribe me a couple of months at the Nun Tin Temple. I obviously didn't move there. I went up there daily to learn a practice called loving kindness, compassion, meditation. And that cracked me wide open, because it really helped me learn how to love myself again, going through something that was carrying shame and guilt for going through that. And it wasn't really spoken about, Rob, much back then. 10 years ago, not many people spoke about postnatal. It's now really well spoken about. And it's been a journey. And even when I was in the unit, someone gifted me Jessica Rowe's book, and because she had severe postnatal depression, and in that hospital, I thought, wow, this story has honestly been a savior. It was a real, I guess, light, a real torch for me to go, someone as magnificent and incredible as Jess Rowe has gone through postnatal depression and recovered, then that's okay, right? Like that means I can recover and I shouldn't carry this shame and guilt for having it. And I remember thinking when I left that hospital, one day I'm going to meet Jess Rowe in person and I'm going to get to thank her. And that day did happen, 4 years
amazing.
post the hospital. She was the MC at one of the conference events for the business chicks.
Yeah.
And we had this moment on stage where we just both burst into tears. And she's actually the quote on my book, and we've become lovely friends since then. So life, hey?
Yeah.
You just never know what's going to happen.
And isn't it an amazing journey that you had this experience, but it's catapulted you into something, a real sort of left turn, if you like, from where you were potentially going to where you are now, and the experiences that you've had because of it. So yeah, life, like, wow.
Yeah. You know what? And Rob, it sounds bizarre, right? But you speak to a lot of people who've had post-traumatic growth, which is something that I've been very blessed that I've had. I haven't stayed in a victim mindset where I've been stuck for a decade. I've actually grown from pretty severe adversity. And so I'm very grateful and lucky that I've been able to navigate through that. Is that people who come on the other side of severe adversity or real uncertainty, or something happens in their life, eventually, as the time passes, they will look back on that experience with a sense of gratefulness, because that's how I feel with my experience. It was a very humbling experience. It made me really redefine what success looked like for me. And I've always been a happy person, but I've never been this calm in my entire life. And I'm like, wow, I wouldn't have known that, right? Like I wouldn't have known this life if I hadn't have gone through it. And so sometimes we need to crack, right, for the light to come through, and then you almost get onto this. For me, I've been really onto my calling, I feel, as don't want that to sound too spiritual, but I really do feel like this isn't work for me. It's a real, yeah, as I was saying to you before we kicked off, this is a joy. Like this is just, I love it.
And it must be comforting for people who are listening, who may be going through something at the moment themselves, who are at the bottom, if you like, to hear that you can look back on this time, and you might not feel it now, but in years to come, you might look back and go, that was part of my journey, and I'm grateful for it. You may not have wanted it, but you become grateful for it.
Totally. You never want it, right? Like you're laying in the trench going, why me? Like, why has this happened to me?
Yeah.
And then, my psychiatrist is like, well, why not you? And you're strong enough to be able to handle this. And it's also something, if there's people listening who are vulnerable or predisposed to anxiety and depression, there's something beautiful that she said to me that really I enjoy reminding myself of, is that people who are anxious naturally they've got this sort of double engine. They're quite driven and they get up and go, and as long as that's kept in check. And so she said to me, I want you to be grateful for your anxiety, because without it, you wouldn't be this like really driven human being. And she said, we just need to keep that kind of in check. And she's like, you almost don't need coffee. And I said, don't take coffee away from me. Like I love coffee.
Yeah.
And then she said, be grateful that you have depression too. And she said, because without the depression, you get to experience a range of emotions. You don't experience the full rays of the sunshine without the depths of the thunderstorm. And so she said, your emotional vocab or emotional experience is wide. And so I thought that was a really beautiful reframe on the anxiety and depression, because people get so much shame. They're like, I don't want anxiety and I don't want to tell people I've got depression. And you know what? We are who we are, right? And it's just knowing what that is and managing through that. And I think there's a real comfort as well when you're listening to people who go through similar things. You're not alone, and that vulnerability does connect you to other humans. And I've really seen that over the last decade.
So you've basically taken your experiences, you've taken your studies, and now you're teaching these skills to other people. Would you call it mental fitness that you're teaching people? Is that what it's sort of like?
Yeah, I'd say that. I'd say mental fitness, because it's our ability, right, to meet the demands of modern life with a sense of clarity and calmness. And it's not about, never feeling stressed out, because we all feel stress, and stress is actually a good thing. Like a little bit of stress is actually quite good for us. But it's about building the capacity to recover and respond rather than always be reacting. Like you see it when, people are getting super ragey, right? Like, and you're just like, wow, they just, we can give them some tools to downregulate pretty quickly. And I think mental fitness is just so important. Like I view it as important as my physical fitness, and I like work out physical fitness every single day, but I also take my brain to the gym every single day.
Mm. And that's wonderful. And I really think we need to be talking about this more, because there is so much culture around physical fitness. You've got your gym bros, you've got your people out there going to the gym every day.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's doing it. It's on Instagram. People are showing you, I'm at the gym and this is me working out or whatever. Why aren't we talking more about our mental fitness as well? Why aren't we talking more about, well, this is what I'm doing today, and I'm sitting here meditating, or I'm writing my reflective journal, whatever it is. I think we need to be doing more of that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I feel like a lot of people are doing that, but that's probably because the world that I'm in and the community that surrounds me, I feel like most people are doing something for their mental health.
Yeah.
And I have seen a huge shift change, to be honest, Rob, in the corporate world. From when I started a decade ago to no one really knowing about mindfulness much here in Australia. It's huge in the Eastern, philosophy, but we weren't really talking about it in corporate Australia. Like, no way. And there's been a big shift, right? Like now, even with psych safety and, it's a requirement of companies to invest in their staff's well-being. I mean, that's massive. Like that is absolutely, I mean, there's obviously a lot more work to be done, but I do feel like there's a lot more amazing role models coming out, a lot of great male role models as well, who are talking about this to normalize the conversation, because sadly, our suicide rates are not going the right way. Mental illness isn't going the right way. I think COVID was a major impact due to loneliness. And so every tool you can get your hands on, and it's not everything is for everyone. Meditation is not going to be for everyone. Journaling is not going to be for everyone. It's like having a buffet of tools. And that's kind of when we're doing our workshops and keynotes, we give people like a buffet, like you turn up to the cruise and here's a buffet of tools and you just choose what you like, and just choose two, right?
Yeah.
And things that you're going to enjoy to do, and something that you can go, well, that kind of makes sense scientifically, and that's something easy that I can do. And she's telling me I can still have a coffee and I can still have a wine on the weekend, and I don't have to run 25 Ks a day. Yeah, all right. I kind of like Chelsea. She seems pretty normal.
Yeah.
So I think you got, again, you got to live. I'm all about 80-20 in this life. I'd much rather live to 85 and have a cracking time and good health span than being so restrictive and living to 95 and losing all my mates because I'm not eating and running.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good one to remember, because I'm guilty of that too, where I get to the point where it's almost perfectionism. I've got to hit the gym every day, and if I don't, I feel guilty. And it's that guilt that I think is good, that it drives me, but it's not good in the fact that it's actually that critical voice in my head that's saying you're not good enough, or you're not worthy, or you've got to do more. Well, no, you don't. You've got to live. And I like what you said, live to 85, but health span along the way, have some fun. Like you're only here for such a short time, make the most of it.
Absolutely.
I really love this quote on your website, and I was hoping you could tell me a little bit more about it. It's mental health is your superannuation. I've never heard that before. I love it. Can you tell us a bit more?
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, that quote came to me when I was at a retreat it's called Gwingana. It's up in Queensland. And I was there at the dinner and I was listening to a bunch of financial advisors talk about investing into their super and how it's all about setting yourself up, financially and commercially, so you're safe, right? You got financial security to the end. And I completely get that, right? I invest too. I'm married to a banker. Like I get financial investment, and that's a big part of our life as well. And then I was thinking, and I was sitting there and I'm like, hang on a second, but what about the vessel, like our mind and our body? And if we're only planning financially for the end, but not investing into this, like our mental and physical health and well-being along the way, we're kind of missing the point, because really your mental health, it is your true super, it's what will carry you through to your very last breath. And so I started thinking about things like, okay, yes, financial security is big, but also if our bodies and our well-being, it's almost like, okay, think of things like rest, mindfulness, movement, boundaries, sleep, nutrition, like your pillars, right? And like not as indulgences, but almost as like these deposits into your long-term well-being account. And just like super, like the earlier and the more consistent you invest, the better the return. And so that's why that is on the website. Mental health is your superannuation. And here's the truth, Rob, if you don't take care of your body, you don't take care of your mind, like this is the one home you get. Like this is it. And if you're not taking care of it, we've got nowhere else to live.
Yeah.
If you think about that, like where are we going to live? If we get dementia, we get cancer through our body, like there's no other home to go live in. Like this is the vessel that takes us to the end.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I listened to Peter Attia talk a lot about health span and that marginal decade, that last decade of life, where if you don't look after yourself now, and by goodness, if you haven't started already, like crack on because now's the time. If you don't look after yourself now, then you'll get to that marginal decade, that last decade, and it'll be pretty miserable. But if you do the things you need to do, and it's not a lot, just look after yourself along the way, then that last 10 years can actually be really productive and you can enjoy life as close to the end as possible.
So true. There's this really cool place because I'm always about competing against who I was yesterday. Like I don't compete with anyone else. I'm like, well, how can I get better at things, right, for myself? And these little 1% improvements. And I went to this epic place called Oracle Healthcare. They're in Sydney, part of the North Shore Hospital there. And you spend 4 hours, right? So you clock in. I know that sounds like a big time out of people's time, but again, you know what? 4 hours out of the whole year, I think it's worth it. And you get in there, they do the DEXA scan, right? So they check your visceral fat, they check your lean body muscle mass to see what's going on in your system. Then you go and you have your blood work done. So while having your blood work done, and that comes back to the doctor about 2 hours later, you then go see your cardiologist, you have your heart done, right? You check how the stress tests are. Then you go see Professor of Melanoma and they check your moles and they body scan you there. Then you go see your doctor, your bloods are now back and she's doing the full check. Then you go see the nutritionist after that because now the DEXA scan and all the scans are back to the nutritionist. So you create this 6-week plan. Then you go and see the exercise physiologist and they work on your strength and flex. And interesting things came out where I have got deficits. Like I work out every day. I feel like I'm pretty dialed into this well-being piece. And she's like, let me check your grip strength. And she's like, being 44, if you're not doing grip work, it's a huge indicator of longevity because you need to be able to open jars, right, when you're in your 80s. And she's like, I'm assuming it's low or very low, like very poor. I'm like, awesome. I said, that sounds like you've got a lot of confidence in my grip strength. So let's do it. Do the grip strength test, right? It's this machine. You've got to squeeze these things 3 times and it takes the average and then she checks it against the clinical evidence. And she talks about Peter Attia a lot as well, this exercise physiologist. We love Peter Attia too.
Yeah.
And anyway, so she was right. My score came back as poor, almost very poor. And so she said, a part of your next 6-week program, because she's got me doing a whole bunch of different things in the gym now that I wouldn't normally do. She's like, you're now going to do chin hangs, where you hang on your chin up bar, and I need you to get to a minute 10. And she's like, you're also going to do farmer carries where you carry kettlebells at a certain weight, and you're going to do 30 seconds of those, 3 runs of those. So we're doing this program together, right, 3 times a week. Now, my first chin hang was like 5 seconds. It was absolutely just brutally hopeless. Just couldn't even hang, right, and hold my body up properly. But over 2 weeks, I'm now up to like 24 seconds. And by 6 weeks, I'm hoping over a minute. And a minute it's not that long, right? But I know that I don't want to be in a nursing home or be a burden to our daughter Clara at 84, right? I want to be independent in my house. I want to be skiing mid-70s. And so like what you said with Peter Attia, you train now for the last decade, right? You major in your majors, you're training now, so you get this beautiful health span. And I just think that's super cool.
Yeah. And I love that there is more people talking about health span now. Certainly, 20, 30 years ago, I think back to my parents' time in life and it wasn't really discussed much. Like, going to the gym wasn't that common. Heck, for like the first 10 years after I got out of high school and when I was in the military, I focused more on cardio because strength, I wasn't a gym bro. I was just someone who liked to, try and keep the weight off or whatever. Yeah. So, but nowadays it is such a thing people are talking about. And I think that I feel really good that we've got this thing that people are working towards and society as a whole is going to benefit from this, not only individually, but the systems like healthcare systems, the aged care system, all of these things are going to benefit because we're all taking better care of ourselves.
Absolutely. It's all about strength as well, isn't it? Like strength and flexibility. And I love that. I love that movement.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter the other day, she's 10, and she said to me, "You know what, Mummy? I'm so strong. I've busted out of my tights." Because the tights are too small now,
Yeah.
right? Imagine women saying that. I'm too strong for these tights. Instead of going, I'm so fat, I need to get new tights, right?
Yeah.
She is so strong, our daughter, and it's that constant modeling to her of like strength and energy, strength and flexibility, and which is just cool, you know, because it's just yeah, look, the amount of weights I lift these days, the protein, the creatine, the collagen, like everything that's in this Wellbeing cauldron, it's a lot. But, but it's also keeping me upright and
Yeah.
keeping me fit.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Clara's got an amazing role model. And I, like I said, I've been following you for about 12 months now. But for those people who don't know much about you, you are obviously a high performer, but you seem to be choosing a slightly different path. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like you spend a great amount of time working, but you also do a lot of great adventures. You seem to be off traveling with your family, your friends. Have you cracked the code on balance?
I think cracked might be a bit ambitious, but I've consciously definitely redefined success and what that looks for me. You know, the goal for me isn't a big home or impressing people I don't even know. You know, it's a regulated nervous system. It's quality time with people that I really love. It's waking up excited every day because peace is the real flex here. You know, it's not burnout for me. It's not constantly trying to prove myself to everyone. I measure performance now not by, you know, what I'm putting out and doing, but the quality of presence in both my family, you know, in my home life as well as my work life. So our values very much are like my health and all our whole family, our health, physical and mental health is so, so important. Our family and friendships, they are so important to us. Like, so spending really good quality time with them. Travel, we absolutely love travel and adventure and some charity work. So that's kind of like that's like our secret sauce of how we live. And when we go on these breaks, so we do these, people are like, what? How do you do? Why are you doing this? How are you doing this? So we take a break every 6 weeks. So we do these 6 week sprints, and I do a lot of keynote speaking. Like I used to do 10 keynotes a week last year. Like I did so many events, and now I've scaled that back. My husband Jay is an amazing speaker, so he picks up a lot of the speaking, and so does one of my other colleagues in the team who's also incredible, Ashley. And so I've stepped back a bit and only doing 4, 5 max on the road now, which has been an amazing shift. But the reason that we can do that number is because I honestly think, and this is the one thing I think that helps me not actually burn out. And after 9.5 years, like I actually haven't had a sick day. And I think you know, you can think about how many thousands of people do I see every week and all those flights and trains and cars. And I'm just around humans like 24/7, right?
Yeah.
And I really do think that this is the one little secret that we do is that we work hard. We do. Fire when you've got your own business, you wear every hat. You do work really hard, but then every 6 weeks, now because it's my company, I can do this. I take a week off. Now, for a lot of people, they're like, "Nice for you." However, what I'm going to encourage you to try instead, because a lot of people have corporate jobs listening to this, is taking a weekend every 6 weeks. And it's something that my mentors taught me years ago. And the reason then I kind of looked at the science of it in psychology, I'm like, that's really cool. And so when you have a break coming up, you know, Rob, you think about, I don't know, do you have a holiday coming up anytime soon?
Tomorrow.
Do you?
Yes, I'm off to the snow tomorrow with the family. We're going away for a long, long weekend. So exciting.
Mate, we're to Perisher or Threadbow?
Perisher. Yeah.
I'll let you know because we're going next Friday. Yes.
Oh, there you go. Well, it sounds really good. The base is amazing. So I'm excited. It's going to be amazing.
So excited. Yeah. So everyone who's listening, if you could see Rob's face right now, like he's beaming, right?
I'm going, yeah.
And the reason being is something that we see in the psychology called anticipatory joy. And what that means is that 2 weeks before you go on a holiday or a break, you have a natural serotonin release and dopamine. And so the coffee tastes better, the sky kind of looks bluer, and which is great, right? You speak to anyone going on a break and that's how they sound. They sound chipper. And for people who don't have a break, it's pretty annoying for them because they're like, well, I don't have a holiday until Christmas.
Yeah.
And so these short, sharper bursts of breaks, what happens is you get more of those anticipatory joy moments, Rob, where you're like, far out, I'm really enjoying the journey. Like I work hard for 6 weeks, then I've got a break coming up. Then I work hard again for 6. It's almost like interval training, to be honest. And so Then you go on this great break. Then you come back. You might feel like you got a bit of post-holiday blues after your skiing, but don't worry, because 6 weeks from now, you've got another break coming up.
Yep.
And so instead of flogging yourself all year and then getting sick on day 2 with the flu because you haven't taken a break for the year and you're limping over the finish line and you're feeling stifled with your innovation and you're feeling cynical and you're feeling exhausted, don't do that. Like, try this. Try every 6 weeks, just take a weekend. It doesn't need to be going to Perisher. It could just literally be going camping, going off grid, right? Like, it's you having quality time with someone that you love, and it's kind of just nailing your basics on that weekend. And so that has honestly been a game changer for me, to be honest. And you know what as well, Rob? I bloody love my life because there's a lot of adventure and travel in there. So it's not a monotonous existence for me. Like, I don't, and I do like that. I don't really like going to the same place for holidays and living the same life 24/7. I like to mix things up a bit.
Yeah. And it is a journey, right? And I think the more you can enjoy the day to day, the better your life feels. And there's a quote that came to mind as you're speaking: design a life you don't need a break from, or you don't need a holiday from. Have it built in so that it's just a part of your everyday existence, which it sounds exactly what you've done. The other quote I want to throw back at you is, peace is the real flex. I don't know if you've said that one before, but that's really cool. I've written that one down, so I like that. I love that.
That's my flex.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell me, Chelsea, what does a typical day look like for you? And I realize that might be hard to answer because, lots of different things going on, lots of different ways that you're living your life. But how do you weave in your wellbeing practice so that you do maintain your wellbeing?
Yeah, now my morning routine might seem like, all right, Oprah, like that's a billion things to do when you first wake up.
Yeah.
It's not meant to sound like that.
Yeah.
But I do have a pretty structured morning routine, to be honest, before I kick off the day. So it varies, with the rhythm, whether I'm at home or whether I'm on the road traveling for work. But my optimization of my morning routine definitely anchors me. And so it's a non-negotiable, to be honest, Rob, in my life. And it's an intentional start that includes, first of all, not looking at my mobile phone. It's just so toxic for us to wake up and look at the phone and take those data points in and see the pain of the world. And that's kind of how we set the day, right? So the alarm clock goes off, which the alarm sound now is a standing ovation. So my daughter and I changed our alarm clock sound to a clap. And so we wake up every morning to people applauding us, and it is hilarious.
Oh, I love that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Then I just practice gratitude in the morning. I just think there's some really cool research around that, and I just think, okay, I woke up, a great pillow, my beautiful daughter, little chubby hands holding my hand, and just little things. And then I get up, I do the usual things, and I brush my teeth, which is different to most people probably. I brush my teeth with the opposite hand standing on the other leg, just because of some cool stuff that I read from Dr. Daniel Amen around what it does with dexterity in the brain. It's really mindful activity, plus balance is really important for longevity. So I kind of put my brain to work, right, straight up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then I smash a massive glass of water because our brain is 75% water. I think that's the stat. And so that's a lot, right? So you need a good hydrated brain before I kick off my day. And that's before I, consume my first coffee. I really enjoy coffee. If my anxiety ever flares up, I'll cut the caffeine for 4 weeks just so my GABA neurotransmitter can regulate. But, it's very rare that I get anxiety these days. So I really enjoy a coffee in the morning, and then I get out and I work out, right? So I'm literally off, I'm exercising for 30 minutes. It's either weights, it's bike riding, it's surfing, it's walking, it's horse, whatever that looks like. Get back, lots of cuddles with my daughter, Clara, if I'm at home. And then my husband and I will walk her to school. Then I come home, hot, sort of cold shower. And there's some nice research around sort of cold water at the end of the hot shower. And then I sit down, if I'm here at home, review the list and think about, okay, what's the most important thing today? And then I start my day. And my day is either, it can vary between a couple of keynotes for the day, a couple of virtual workshops on the day, some podcasts around that, some briefing calls, and then, it's like social media uptake, it's whips with my team. It's like, you get this, right? As a small business owner, we wear every single hat, right? And so then I'm like, got to record some meditations, and then I'm writing my second book. And so I know that sounds like a lot. Yeah. Everyone's kind of got their own bag of busy of what they do in their current roles. However, what I'll always do, which some people don't know that I do this, but every afternoon I schedule in, I've got a like meeting thing locked in the afternoons. It's just an appointment with myself. And it's where the team can't overbook it with anything. And I do a non-sleep deep rest protocol, just a meditation for 10 minutes. And so I find that really recharges my brain in the afternoon. I'm not studying at the moment this year. So to be honest, that's giving me back about 25 hours a week in my calendar. So I'm being pretty mindful of where I reclaim that time now. And so I make sure I definitely do deposits throughout the day for my wellness and not bolt it on at the end of the day, because I feel like if I don't do it in the morning and then schedule in a break during the day, and I get to the afternoon, evening, and I'm tired, and so then I just don't get to it, right? So I do little mindful things throughout the day. I eat lunch not in front of the computer, like just little basic things, I'm having a conversation to someone in Gerringong at the cafe, and my phone's nowhere near me. I'm just like looking them in the eyes. Like imagine that, having a conversation with someone looking in their eyes. And so that's, the reason why I'm pretty fastidious about those little things throughout the day is because it's all about part of the bigger picture, right? Of showing up well, both for myself and for other people. And to be fair, Rob, people pay a lot of money to have me come and speak to their companies. And it's not just about the money, it's about the time. And people are giving up an hour of their time to listen to me speak. And I want to make sure that is so high value for them. And if I turn up and I'm sleep deprived and I ate, some bread rolls for me in the morning, which would kill my stomach, and then I didn't do exercise, I didn't meditate, I'm eating chips, and then, and I turn up with a Red Bull and try and speak about it's off brand.
Yeah.
It's just not fair. It's not fair to the clients and the people in that room. So I'm really, really mindful of that stuff.
There are so many threads that I want to pull on there. That the morning routine sounds amazing. But you did say something there about non-sleep deep rest. So is that based on Andrew Huberman's protocol? Could you tell the listeners a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, of course. I actually went and recorded my own non-sleep deep rest protocol 2 weeks ago in Sydney in the studio. I've just put it up on Insight Timer actually 2 days ago. I haven't told the community about it yet. I was going to launch it live next week, but if people don't want the clinical version of Andrew Huberman's, I just recorded a bit of a softer version if they wanted something a little bit different to that. But I love Andrew Huberman. I want to give him a massive shout out because incredible human doing amazing things. And so there's some really cool research around non-sleep deep rest and what it does for people, like it helps them restore, a sleep deficit. Now we still definitely need to sleep, but it just helps re-energize the brain. So the prefrontal cortex gets a bit of a workout in it. I'll just tell you the scientific benefits first, and then I'll tell you what the practice involves. It's given the nature of the practice, they say that it gets us into a different brainwave. So what that means is that if we can hit gamma brainwave while we're doing this mindfulness meditation practice, we become a lot more creative. Now, it's not necessarily when you are doing the practice, it's actually like for the next sort of 24 hours. So, when you're chopping carrots and you're washing your hair and driving the car and you get these thought bubbles that pop up, some people will have rumination and they'll sweep back. Some people will be thinking about other things. I find that when I'm doing this practice religiously, daily, is that I get a lot more innovative and I feel that. And then the other thing is that it's very calming on the whole nervous system. So it's nice down regulation. And so when I feel a little bit, if I've had too many coffees, it is the practice I lean on to down regulate myself straight away. And so it just helps me stay very, very sharp in the mind and less reactive and things like that. And so if you go ahead and listen, Andrew Huberman's got it on YouTube. I've got it on my YouTube channel as well as Insight Timer. And what it is, you'll hear it is like a particular sort of breath work. And then it is almost like a pretty fast pace through a body scan where we get you to visualize almost like a torchlight on these particular body parts and imagine that they're releasing tension. And it's for 10 minutes. And that's kind of where it's at in terms of 10 minutes a day. For me, it really works, and it's not going to be for everyone. We're saying, Rob, like the buffet of tools.
Yeah.
It's not going to be for everyone. So I always say to people, try everything once. If you don't love it, don't do it again. Like,
Yeah.
do something else, but at least give it a go. I just think people will be, I think they'll be pleasantly surprised.
And is that like a 15-minute, 20-minute thing?
I know Andrew does them for 20. There's some good research out there around 10 to 12 minutes as well. So I keep mine at 10. Again, it's like for me, I do the smallest things I can for the maximum impact on my brain. That's why I do a 30-second cold water shower. I do a 10-minute meditation every day. I do a 30-minute unwinding period. I do a 30-minute exercise workout. I'm kind of looking at the evidence going, well, what's the shortest amount of time I can pop in to get the maximum gain for my brain, because we are also time compressed. And I hear people meditate for 2 hours a day. I mean, amazing, but I just do not have 2 hours out of my day to be in a state of meditation. I just don't. And I don't know if I want to be honest.
Well, and 2 hours of meditation, and then you've got to do, your gym work, and then you've got to do your journaling, and then it all adds up. So I love the sub-maximal, like whatever the minimal amount of time is, and 10 minutes seems really achievable. So I really like that. So I'm absolutely going to check that out. Chelsea, I've absolutely failed as an interviewer again. We're coming close to the end of time, and I've still got lots and lots of questions. So maybe, if possible in the future, I could get you back to finish some of these questions. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But what's one final thought you'd like to leave listeners with today? Because we didn't cover a lot of ground. We covered a lot of ground, but there's probably still some other things there. So is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to leave people with today?
Firstly, Rob, I've really enjoyed this chat. I feel like I'm catching up with a friend.
Yeah, me too.
Having a coffee before 2 p.m. so it doesn't impact our deep sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think, you know what, let's just circle back into that whole your well-being is your superannuation. I just think that's, if listeners literally go, okay, it's not a luxury, it's not a bonus at the end, of burnout, it's the investment that sustains your performance, like your capacity to lead. So I think it's just this whole reminder again, Rob, around what's our life meant to be about. We weren't born to spend our life performing and chasing more and proving yourself, only to end up completely exhausted and disconnected with no friends left, and real peace, it completely feels different. And it's waking up in the mornings without dread. It's creating like this calm mind, and it's being surrounded by people who make you feel completely seen and supported and not drained. And I really do believe that the future belongs to leaders who know how to work sustainably and not just hard. And so people who are listening right now, I just say, hey, just choose a rhythm you can actually live with. We can't be everything to everyone. And so just be really clear on your boundaries and invest in yourself daily. It's worth it, right? The vessel's worth it.
Yeah, and it absolutely pays dividends. So thank you so much, Chelsea. The feeling's mutual. This has been such a wonderful conversation, which is probably why I get caught off track or sidetrack, sorry. Again, if people want to connect with you or find out more about what you're doing, what's the best way they can do that? Thanks,
Rob. The best way is just through our website, EQ Minds. So that's EQMINDS.com. We're on Instagram as well at EQ Minds, on LinkedIn, Chelsea Pottenger, any of those platforms. We're pretty prolific on socials, so you'll find us somewhere. But yeah, I look forward to, for anyone reaching out, I look forward to connecting with you.
That's amazing. Thanks again, Chelsea. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.